Hello, this is Pharaoh Vincent with Nation 473. And I'm coming to you guys today with a hopefully condensed video on um, some fleet suggestions for long range cities. And I wanted to make this specifically around a comment in my series where I was asking some folks where, hey, if you've got something that you want me to explain in a little bit more detail or update, I'd be happy to do so. Just let me know what you want. And somebody mentioned that, long range fleets would be a good idea. And I realized that my old video on this topic was from like the era of the really bad audio camera phone recording thing that I was doing at the beginning of all this channel, right? Like I originally really wasn't planning on um, buying a microphone, figuring out how to use some voice balancing software and noise cancellation, and figuring out how to record videos on my PC, right? When I first started, I really wasn't planning on all of this. This kind of just happened because you guys are awesome and supported me, and eventually I just kind of progressed. So I guess this is an awkward thank you to every subscriber. Um, I'm rambling. Let's go. So, for anyone who doesn't know, or if I haven't mentioned in a video yet, I know I mentioned that I was like debating going back to long range, and I did. I did go back to long range, and the reason why I did that is because it does give me better longevity in battles with my alliance, and I wanted to focus on team play. Mid range for me was all about wanting to be really strong, and I am when I'm mid range. It's so nice. I just feel great. And especially in the uranium mines, it's so much better. I can beat so many more people as mid range than I can as long range. But my issue is in large team battles, I will die in the first few seconds. So I went back to long range. So it's very timely that somebody had asked me, well, what about some long range fleets? And I'm back to long range. So I will show you a little bit of the fleets that I've been using, but I want to explain how to determine a fleet in this video rather than giving you a very specific fleet. So what you really need to determine is, first off, what do you have? What do they do? And what can you lose? And I know that that might seem weird in like a non-loss event where you are worried about like you're not really worried about those troops being gone forever versus a void where they die. But if you approach a void and a non-loss event in a very similar fashion, you're actually going to get very similar results. And generally speaking, those results are going to be good. The only thing that I will say is, again, always budget what you are able to lose. So, here we go. um, so, really, the big thing about long range fleets is what are the troops doing and how many do you need? So, the snipers, actually, I'm going to go over to this screen. So what are the specialties of each unit? Snipers, in this case, eagle eye snipers for me because I have the T12s, but whatever you have, right? If you're on T12, T10, T8, T6, T4, doesn't matter. What do the snipers specialize in? They specialize in single target damage. Why? Because every 3 attacks will trigger a deadly hit dealing 1.8 times damage to a single enemy. And they even tell you it's a single enemy. It's the little red laser. So snipers specialize in burning down single targets. In most scenarios, they don't really do all that much in player versus player combat. They do great on events, but they don't really do much in player versus player combat because they're only hitting one troop at a time. They're really good if you are not facing an opponent with a lot of melee or really weak melee, because once they get through the melee, they will disintegrate, and I mean disintegrate, any other troop in the game very quickly, because they hit like trucks all the time, and the only thing that can really stand up to the damage that they put out is melee troops. So you want a sniper composition if you are facing low melee stats, if you are facing things that do not necessarily need a lot of splash damage. If single target is acceptable, they're good to use. The caveat is they're also cheap, especially at C30. So you can recruit a lot of T10 snipers, and you can afford to lose a lot of T10 snipers. So keep that in mind for your voids and frenzies, is if you are, a long range city and you're a C30, I'd actually recommend having a very solid amount of snipers, because you will be able to replenish them faster than some of the other troops that we're going to talk about today. So, the next long range troop that I want to spend time on is the cannon. And I specified this kind of cannon versus the other one where I will say EMP cannon, just because they both technically have cannon in their name. This is one of the two best in class area of effect specialist attackers. And your goal as a long range city is going to always be getting to a cannon level until C38. And the reason being is these are really cheap to recruit, like snipers, by comparison, because again, the reason why they're cheap to recruit is because you have two buildings that can pump them out. It's the whole reason. So you're able to replenish very quickly when you have two buildings that can replace these. It will never feel like you have enough cannons, ever. I will tell you that right now. But they're great because of their special ability. Again, this is bomb launcher, so every 3 attacks will trigger a bomb, launching 3 bombs at the enemies. This looks like, basically, like if you watch the animation, you'll see them kind of stop, and then you'll see 3 muzzle flares all at once, like a boom, boom, boom. And that's when that effect goes off. The bombs don't all hit right away, by the way. So like with the animation, there's a weird thing where if your cannons die like right after that, you might only get like 1 or 2 bombs off, and then like the animation cancels and you miss a bomb. So it kind of sucks for that reason. But it is the thing that will delete Titans pretty quickly on like mid-range cities, because it prioritizes it typically prioritizes zombies and back row troops. So the cool thing about the splash damage on this is it really adds up, and that's why cannons generally kill more than snipers. I probably do have this actually. So in this battle, you can see where the cannons are getting a lot more, but I'm sending a lot more. Is there one that I did a high sniper count? I wonder. Because I just want to show the difference, but I may not have a lot of good examples. Come on, I know I had to have done a lazy fleet somewhere, right? Maybe J Brown? Nope. Jeez. What is up with me? I wasn't doing lazy fleets? This is unlike Vincent. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to specify what a lazy fleet is. I have a lazy fleet that I do where it's just melee, snipers, and cannons. And that's just because I don't have enough cannons to max out a fleet right now, because I just switched back to long range. So, anyways, cheers. So that's the second real unit that you're going to want to think about. The third unit that I want to talk about is going to be the shielder, and it's going to be super short. Shielders are trash for damage. they basically will put a shield up on a single unit every 4 attacks. It tends to prioritize melee, which is nice. You can use them. Their attack value is actually pretty high, but they're hard to recruit. And the second issue with them is that they basically don't have the sniper's ability to hit like a truck, where they're doing that. Like the sniper, the T12 sniper hits just as hard as 5 units of this, right? So the T12 sniper, I think, is like 1 or 1217 or something like that. So I mean, 10 damage less, and this is 5 units. So it's not like they hit all that hard. But if you compare them like to a T11 cannon, right? So again, this is a T11 shielder, it's 1227. T11 cannons individual hits are it's a tank, 1205. So they do like a little bit more damage. I don't know. That's it. Long story short, if you want to troll somebody, you could probably do like a T12 or T11 shielder heavy comp and piss somebody off in the uranium mine. It might work if you're being a troll. I might try it here and there, actually. It sounds fun. I might recruit a bunch. Anyways, don't let me think about things, guys. This is where it gets funny. Let me know if you want to see that video in the comments of this particular video, because like I will do it if people like if I get 3 comments saying please give me a T11 shielder comp in the uranium mines, it's happening. You will get that video if again 3 people will give me that comment. I swear to it, I will do it. So let's talk about the best unit in the game right now. The best unit in the game right now is the T12 EMP cannon, and I want to specify the T12s. You can get these at T10, T8, T6. Okay? Every time you get them, there's a love-hate relationship with this unit. They are strong. They will kill the most troops of any long range at the level that they're at. So if you're, a T10 city and you're looking at T10 snipers or T10 cannons, the T10 cannons will kill more, but they are a pain to recruit. A royal pain. Like you will need to use every speed up you earn on continuously recruiting cannons for the rest of the time you play this game as a long range city because of how many you will need and how hard they are to get. So why are they really good? Because they mix the best of the T11 cannon with the best of, the T12 cannon, right? Because it's a similar ability. Every 3 attacks will trigger a devastating beam, dealing up to damage up to 3 units. Now, I love how it says will trigger a laser beam, and you're going to think, oh, well, that means it's a straight line. No, it isn't. It just hits like the other cannon does. It'll just hit units regardless of their position, so you don't really have to worry about that. Again, this is something I was wrong on a while ago, but I've been testing it quite a bit. What you do need to know, though, is every single unit recruited in the workshop has slightly higher battle power, which means it has slightly higher stats than units in the same category. This is probably a lot of words to describe a very weird concept, but let me break it down to you even more. So, there are 10 units to the cannon, right? You can see down here 10. So if you want to get a battle power per unit, we can move this decimal point over a piece. Bam. We'll get 15.2, 15.3 if we want to round. If we want to look at another T12 troop, let's say a sniper, you will find that they are 13.9. So the base stats of something that is 15.2 is higher than something that is 13.9. That's pretty fundamental on how that works, right? So mathematically, at every tier, units out of the workshop will hit naturally harder. They will give you slightly more battle power in the uranium mines, and they generally perform better than units that are recruited out of anywhere else in the game. And this is true every tier. Every single tier, this is true. That's why, like, for my mid-range players, I always talk about this concept of the T11 stormtroopers are just slightly behind the T12 rockets, because that is 11.8 versus 13.9. So it's only a 1.1 battle power difference. They're very, very close in how effective they are. For long range cities, there's going to be a very similar concept. The T10 EMP cannons are going to be ever so slightly behind the T11 cannons. So if you are below C34, getting all of your T10 EMP cannons is actually a very good thing, but you need to protect those because they are hard to recruit. And that is same is true of the stormtroopers. They're really hard to recruit and replenish because you only get the one building, and the building naturally takes longer because the units have a higher base battle power value. So, again, this is the whole point of this video when I'm trying to talk to everyone here about fleets, because I don't want to tell somebody you need to use 10 or 100,000 troops worth of melee and the rest you should fill a single troop in everywhere else and put all of your eggs into the EMP cannons and you'll win every time. That is advice that is true, by the way. You can do that, and it will generally work most of the time in the uranium mines. But if you do that in a void, and you have 100,000, T12 shredders, it's going to take you a long time to recover. So that's why you always need to make sure that you're only sending what you can afford to lose in any given event. This is true of Chaos Lands and Void, or in Frenzy, sorry. And like, I'll say this way. If I go into a Frenzy or a Void, Frenzy or a Chaos Lands, if I go into one of these non-loss events and I immediately send my best fleet and I get stomped, then I have to spend healing to get the fleet back. Whereas if I send like a B tier fleet because I'm going after a C30, and I know that I don't need my T11 cannons to beat him, and I can just, shoot him with my T12 rockets and mid-range units, I could absolutely send that and avoid burning good troops early in the event so that you can use them later. Ration. Ration is the thing that you need to learn with fleets. Because when you learn how to ration appropriately and you learn how to, make sure that every single time you are jumping into these different events and you're doing these things, if you're rationing out your troops and you're making sure that you only recruit what you only send what you absolutely need to for those fights, you can start to get better results and longevity out of them. So I hope this video covers what my subscriber specifically wanted. I know this may not be the most satisfying of answers. I realize that this is a little bit more of a nebulous concept, but I'm trying to go with the, if you teach a man how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. And I want to teach you guys how to fish. When I decide fleets in the uranium mines, I'm deciding them based on what troops do I have and how effective are the units at different tasks. Because I don't have a full fleet of cannons, but I particularly like this kind of a fleet because guess what? I get this little bit of a buffer out of the mid-range where all of the units are getting hit, right? Like, I'll show this battle report. And so Titan Lightning is over here hitting all of these guys. and my main cannons aren't getting hit as much because there's distractions available. And I like giving distractions. I also like putting in 30k or so of the T12 snipers, only because if I run into a mid-range city, and I think, like this is a great example. If I run into a mid-range city and they start hitting me, guess what? These rockets are over here hitting my snipers and not my cannons. And the cannons are the good units. The snipers are the distraction. So I will absolutely sacrifice snipers for the good of my cannons. That's fine by me in the uranium mines because they've done their job. The other pro tip that I will give everyone is around melee units. Because melee units all have their reasons to be here. And so, with that, I will say there's going to be a part 2 of this video because I want to talk about what melee units do what and what you should be sending at various levels as well. So that way you can combine these two concepts. This is what I know I should send for mid-range. This is what I should send for long range. This is what I should send for melee. And if you start doing that for all of your units, you're going to have a much easier time in this game. There's a second thing that I will say. If you understand each of the units, all of them, what they do, what their purpose is in your fleet, you can come up with some pretty interesting outcomes. So, without being super cryptic, part of the reason why I like having these 2,500 stormtroopers is because of what they do. First hit, second hit, deleted a single unit over here. I don't care that it missed all of the other units. I don't care that it didn't do a lot of damage. It did its job by getting rid of that one unit so that there's one less thing that could be targeted by my cannons. So that there's one less thing that can be targeted by my destructive lightning. So there's one less thing that my tail needs to deal with. The reason why I like to have a little bit of the stormtroopers is because they hit 3 targets in the back row. The reason why I like the rockets is because they hit 1 troop in the back row. The reason why I like to have some of the gunners is because, generally speaking, snipers may lock onto them before they lock onto melee, which will give my melee an extra 2 seconds to live. I am doing all of the things in these videos with a purpose. So when I say that, like, I want to teach everyone here how to fish, it really comes down to what the hell are your troops doing? Because that's how I look at this game. That's how I play this game. And that's why I'm so successful at a lot of the fights that I'm in. It's hard to make up the stat difference. It's hard to make up all of the other things, but you can do a little bit of it with a good fleet. And sometimes you have to fail to figure out what a good fleet looks like for you. The numbers are going to change. The stats are going to change. How you approach each battle will change. That's why I cannot say, do this and it will work. Because it may work for you, it may not work for you. You may need more, you may need less. You may find that it's absolute trash for where you're at. But this works for me. So I hope this helps somebody. And again, feel free to let me know down in the comments if you have any questions, if you think I missed something, or if you want to give me some specific scenarios that you want me to help you work it through. Like, I can come up with some ideas if you can just tell me, hey, my fleet size is 2,600, or sorry, yeah, no, 260,000. There we go. My fleet size is, like 260,000. I have these kinds of troops. What would you recommend for, fighting a mid-range city? Or what would you recommend for, this upcoming void? Feel free to leave those down in the comments, and I will do my best to help you guys out to make sure that we can, maximize your gains. And I just appreciate everyone who made it this far in the video. I know it's a longer one. I know it's a bit of a nebulous concept, but it is how I think of the game, and I hope this helps. So please leave a like, because these kinds of videos destroy my voice and I can't make too many of them. uh, and of course, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you guys.